Okay, so 17 days from now, Lars Jorgensen is moving $500 million in gold bars from his bank in London to Zurich. The bars will be packed in a single 4-foot square crate, total weight 10 tons, then delivered by truck from the bank to Heathrow under heavy guard, and loaded onto a Sky Suisse passenger plane to Zurich. Somewhere between the Bank of London and the runway in Zurich, the gold needs to disappear.
The scene opens up in Venice, Italy. We're at a fancy auction site where the rich and famous gather, wearing masks and ready to spend millions. But this isn't just any auction. It's the perfect setup for a grand heist, and our main guy, Cyrus Whitaker, is here to steal the show. Literally. Cyrus isn't alone, though. He's got a team of experts. Camilla, the pilot who can fly anything. Magnus, the safecracker who can open any lock. My son, the hacker who can break into any system. Luke, the engineer who can build or fix anything. And Denton, the disguise master who's been around the block a few times. Together, they're the ultimate crew for pulling off impossible jobs. But here's the catch. Interpol agent Abby is watching. She and Cyrus have a bit of a history. Let's just say it didn't end well, and now she's determined to catch him red-handed. Abby's got her team ready, and she's not letting Cyrus slip away this time. The auction simultaneously starts in London, and a super expensive Van Gogh painting goes up for sale. The bids climb higher and higher until it sells for a whopping $20 million. But guess what? Cyrus and his crew are already one step ahead. Magnus and Luke steal the painting from the London auction site before it even reaches the buyer and sell it on the black market for the same price. Back in Venice, next up at the auction, was something totally unique, an NFT. The creator, known only as N8, wore a mask to stay anonymous. This wasn't just any digital art. It was a high-tech masterpiece with 200 cameras that recorded videos and turned them into art. Fancy, right? As the bidding began, Mi-sun, the team's hacker, worked her magic. When the bid hit $25 million, she hit a button, and poof, the lights went out. Chaos erupted. In the confusion, Cyrus swooped in and placed the winning bid himself. Smooth move, Cyrus. Cyrus then approached N8, suggesting they head to his yacht to finalize the deal. Sounds classy, but Abby, the Interpol agent, wasn't buying it. She and her team were watching everything like hawks. As Cyrus and his crew made their escape on a speedboat, Abby followed close behind. But Cyrus had a trick up his sleeve. They set up barriers in the water, leaving Abby stuck and scratching her head.
Are you sure this is safe?
Meanwhile, Cyrus and his team zoomed off to their yacht, where they threw a little victory party. Back on land, Abby wasn't giving up. She reviewed footage from the auction and noticed something odd. Cyrus's partner, Denton, had been faking his limp. Busted. Abby tracked him down and arrested him. During the investigation, she discovered something even bigger. The stolen NFT's value had skyrocketed to $89 million on the black market. But there was a catch. To activate the NFT, they needed the real owner, N8. So, what did they do? They apparently kidnapped the owner himself. Cyrus sat down with N8, the creator of the NFT, and explained the situation. He pointed out that while the digital art was originally meant to sell for $25 million at the auction, its value had now jumped to a staggering $89 million on the black market, all because of the theft.
$89 million.
What?
$89 million.
I beat Van Gogh?
We made $42 million and you made $27 million.
He compared it to the Mona Lisa, which became even more famous and valuable after it was stolen. Cyrus assured N8 that they hadn't taken him to cause harm, but to share the profits. He proposed splitting the money, making it a win-win for both sides. To make N8 feel more at ease, Cyrus even threw a small celebration. Meanwhile, Denton found himself in an interrogation room facing Abby. He tried to play it cool, but Abby wasn't having any of it. She warned him that she would lock him up and expose his entire team if he didn't cooperate. Denton finally gave in and revealed that his crew was in London. If Abby wanted to catch them, she'd have to go there with him. Without hesitation, Abby and her team packed up and headed to London. In London, Abby met her boss, Huxley, who shared some shocking news. A billionaire named Lars Jorgensen had teamed up with a dangerous hacking group called Leviathan. Their plan was to cause massive floods across Europe, manipulate the stock market, and make billions in profit. To pay Leviathan, Lars was preparing to hand over $500 million worth of gold. Huxley tasked Abby with stopping the payment and breaking the deal. But there was a catch. Huxley needed someone who could think like a criminal to outsmart one, and who better for the job than Cyrus?
No. You want to rely on Cyrus Whitaker for an operation of this scale? Trust him with $500 million worth of gold?
Abby was skeptical, arguing that Cyrus would never agree to help, but Huxley insisted, telling her she had to convince him. Reluctantly, Abby agreed and went straight to Cyrus. When they first met, tensions were high, with both throwing accusations of cheating, but eventually Cyrus cut to the point and asked why Abby had come. She explained everything the officer had told her and then dropped the bombshell.
I have been ordered to offer you a deal.
What kind of deal?
We need you to steal something. Gold. A lot of gold. $500 million worth.
Cyrus shared this shocking revelation with his team. Though stunned, they quickly grasped the gravity of the situation. He emphasized that if Lars and the mafia succeeded, the entire city would be at risk, and innocent lives would be lost. With no time to waste, the team set out to uncover the details of Lars's operation. Their investigation revealed that the gold would first be stored in Lars's den, then transported by trucks, and finally flown to its destination via plane. Now, the challenge was clear. They had to intercept it before it left the ground. Mi-sun proposed a clever strategy. They should rent a plane that looked exactly like the one they needed to steal. This, however, posed a huge challenge. They needed an exact match, and finding one wasn't easy. That's when Cyrus remembered a wealthy collector from the auction house who owned a private jet identical to the target plane. Without wasting time, they headed to a plane dealer to request a similar aircraft. The dealer presented a stunning jet, sleek and eye-catching, but there was a catch. It was overloaded with flashy modifications, making it illegal to fly.
No, don't sit down.
Why not?
Because I don't know what that stain is.
Initially, the dealer refused to part with it. That's when Abby stepped in, flashing her Interpol badge. With a sharp tone, she reminded the dealer that keeping illegal aircraft was a serious offense that could land him in prison. Faced with this threat, the dealer quickly changed his tune and agreed to lend them the plane. Now that they had the plane, the next major challenge was manipulating the radar. To pull this off, they needed to build a presumed signal indicator, also known as PSI, a device that would trick air traffic control into thinking there was only one plane in the air instead of two. However, there was a problem. If the two planes moved up and down at different times, the radar would briefly show them both, alerting the control tower. That kind of glitch could ruin everything. To fix it, they needed someone inside air traffic control, an ally who could cover for them. Abby had a connection, a friend named Harry working at the airport headquarters. She reached out, but the officer flat out refused, saying he wasn't about to get involved in a heist. That was until Cyrus made an irresistible offer, $1 million. That changed things fast. Harry agreed to help. With everything in motion, the team got to work transforming the plane. They installed special metal sheets to keep it undetectable by radar and focused on assembling the PSI device. But there was another problem. The machine was huge, about the size of a bomb. That would definitely raise some red flags. Abby quickly devised a solution. She ordered Mi-sun to break the machine down into smaller components, each carried by a different team member. That way, it would be easier to transport without suspicion. As the mission day approached, everyone prepared in their own way. The team strategically split up the plane tickets, placing half in business class and half in economy. This allowed them to cover the entire plane. Their intel confirmed that Lars's gangsters were seated 2 in business class and 3 in economy, while the cargo hold was packed with tons of gold. As the mission unfolded, Mi-sun tapped into the plane's security, taking control of every camera to keep watch. Meanwhile, Magnus slipped into the bathroom, carefully installing the PSI machine where no one would notice. But just as they were about to move forward, Luke's nerves got the best of him. At the last second, he backed out. Without missing a beat, Abby stepped up, ready to take his place. Inside the business class bathroom, Abby carefully worked on installing the second PSI machine, but a sudden jolt sent it crashing to the floor, shattering into pieces. Panic set in. Without it, their entire plan could fall apart. Worse, The gangsters were already heading toward the bathroom. If they spotted the broken device, it was game over. Just in time, Cyrus rushed in. Together, they scrambled to fix the machine, reconnecting every piece until it was back in place. Meanwhile, high above, Camilla steadied her plane, waiting for the PSI to activate. The moment it did, the airport radar picked up signals from both planes. Inside air traffic control, an officer noticed the odd blip, suggesting they report it. But Harry quickly played it off, calling it a minor glitch that would resolve itself. As he smoothly distracted his colleague, Camilla synced his plane with the other, making them appear as one on the radar. Back inside the cargo hold, Magnus reached the golden safe and got to work on its lock, but trouble loomed. Lars's men grew suspicious, sensing something was off. They moved toward their cargo just as Cyrus intercepted them. A brutal fight erupted mid-air, sending chaos through the cabin. Up front, the pilot sensed the commotion and immediately reported an issue. But once again, Harry covered for them, blaming bad weather and advising an emergency landing at a nearby airstrip. The pilots obeyed the orders and began their descent, but the landing site was dangerously small. With skill and a bit of luck, they managed to bring the plane down safely. Camilla, flying just behind, also landed her plane without issue. Meanwhile, Lars realized something was wrong. His plane had been hijacked and diverted to an unexpected location. Furious, he ordered his men to capture whoever had interfered with the gold's delivery. Inside the plane, Magnus turned to Cyrus, guilt weighing on him. He admitted he had failed to crack the lock in time, meaning the gold was still in the hands of Lars and his men, ready for their dangerous deal. With no other choice, the team, along with the cargo and the gangsters, were escorted through the plane toward Lars. Elsewhere, the Leviathan representative grew impatient. She wanted the city to flood immediately after the deal to maximize their profits, but as soon as she learned the gold had been hijacked, she panicked. Lars, however, reassured her. His team had everything under control, and the deal would still go through. Back in the air, chaos continued. The fight on board had disrupted their radar signals, making both planes suddenly visible to traffic control. Seeing this, Huxley, determined to prevent the gold from reaching Jorgensen, ordered NATO to shoot the plane down. Realizing the danger, Cyrus and Camilla acted fast. They flipped the plane upside down mid-flight and signaled that there were civilians on board, thanks to those illegal plane mods. The fighter jets backed off, but remained in pursuit, ready to intervene if necessary. With no other choice, they let the plane land so ground forces could handle the situation. The aircraft touched down hard on the grounds of Lars's grand estate in Tuscany. The impact was brutal. The plane plowed through the security walls, smashing through the entrance as it skidded to a stop inside the palace grounds. As chaos erupted, the entire stash of gold spilled out of the plane. Seeing this, the Leviathan associate immediately called off the deal, declaring she would take the gold for herself. But Lars wasn't having it. Without hesitation, he shot her dead. Meanwhile, the police who had been tracking the situation swarmed the estate, surrounding everyone. As they moved in to arrest Lars, he played the victim, claiming it was his house and he was only protecting his property. He even tried to shift the blame onto the dead mafia woman, insisting she was the real culprit and that Cyrus and his team were the ones who needed to be arrested. But Cyrus had come prepared. Using footage from the plane's LED glass and NFT records, he exposed the truth. The entire plot to flood the city, the deal with the mafia, and Lars' role as the mastermind. With undeniable evidence in hand, the police, along with Abby and Huxley, placed Lars under arrest. All the gold was seized as part of the successful operation. Abby, still furious at Huxley for ordering the plane to be shot down earlier, decided she'd had enough. She quit on the spot. Weeks later, Cyrus, knowing about Abby's childhood love for a particular painting, secretly tracked it down and gifted it to her. The thoughtful gesture brought them closer, and Abby officially joined Cyrus's team. But the biggest twist? Magnus had swapped the real gold with fake bricks before the police ever got their hands on it. Since they couldn't crack the safe in time, the authorities ended up confiscating iron blocks painted to look like gold. The real treasure had already been moved to a secure location by Luke, who had never actually quit the mission. With their flawless execution, the crew had pulled off another legendary heist. Reuniting with their gold, they celebrated their success, while Cyrus and Abby rekindled their relationship, this time as partners in both crime and life. Well, that's the end of this recap. If you enjoyed this movie, consider subscribing for more interesting stories. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.